Welcome to Season 5 of Astounding Stories of Space and Time. I'm Mardell, and our first story is Sentiment Incorporated by Poul Anderson. Part 1. She was 22 years old, fresh out of college, full of life and hope, and all set to conquer the world. Colin Fraser happened to be on vacation on Cape Cod, where she was playing summer stock, and went to more shows than he had planned. It wasn't hard to get an introduction, and before long he and Judy Sanders were seeing a lot of each other. Of course, she told him one afternoon on the beach, my real name is Harkness. He raised his arm, letting the sand run through his fingers. The beach was big and dazzling white around them, and the sea galloped in with a steady roar, and a gull rode the breeze overhead. "What was wrong with it?" he asked. "For a professional moniker, I mean." She laughed and shook the long hair back over her shoulders. "I wanted to live under the name of Sanders," she explained. Oh, yes, of course, Winnie the Pooh." He grinned. "Soulmates, that's what we are." It was about then that he decided he'd been a bachelor long enough. In the fall, she went to New York to begin the upward grind. Understudy, walk-on parts, shoestring theaters, and roles in outright turkeys. Fraser returned to Boston for a while, but his work suffered. He had to keep dashing off to see her. By spring, she was beginning to get places. She had talent, and everybody enjoys looking at a brown-eyed blonde. His weekly proposals were also beginning to show some real progress, and he thought that a month or two of steady siege might finish the campaign. So he took a leave from his job and went down to New York himself. He'd saved up enough money and was good enough in his work to afford it anyway. He was his own boss, consulting engineer specializing in mathematical analysis. He got a furnished room in Brooklyn and filled in his leisure time, as he thought of it, with some special math courses at Columbia, and he had a lot of friends in town and a curious variety of professions. Next to Judy, he saw most of the physicist Swirsky, who was an entertaining companion, though most of his work was too top secret even to be mentioned. It was a happy period. There is always a jarring note, to be sure. In this case, it was the fact that Fraser had plenty of competition. He wasn't good-looking himself, a tall, gaunt man of 28 with a dark hatchet face and perpetually rumpled clothes. But still, Judy saw more of him than of anyone else, and admitted she was seriously considering his proposal, and no other. He called her up once for a date. "Sorry," she answered. "I'd love to, Colin, but I've already promised tonight." "Just so you won't worry, it's Matthew Snyder." The industrialist?" "Uh-huh. He asked me in such a way it was hard to refuse. But I don't think you have to be jealous, honey. Bye now." Fraser lit his pipe with a certain smugness. Snyder was several times a millionaire, but he was close to 60, a widower of notably dull conversation. Judy wasn't. Well, no worries, as she said. He dropped over to Swirsky's apartment for an evening of chess and bull shooting. It was early in May, when the world was turning green again, that Judy called Fraser up. "Hi," she said breathlessly. "Busy tonight?" "Well, I was hoping I'd be, if you get what I mean," he said. "Look, I want to take you out for a change. Just got some unexpected money, and damn it, I want to feel rich for one evening." He scowled into the phone. "I don't know." "Oh, get off it, Galahad. I'll meet you in the Dixie lobby at 7, okay?" She blew him a kiss over the wires and hung up before he could argue further. He sighed and shrugged. Well, why not if she wanted to? They were in a little Hungarian restaurant, with a couple of Zigani strolling about playing for them alone, it seemed, when he asked for details. Did you get a bonus or what? No, she laughed at him over her drink. I've turned guinea pig. I hope you quit that job before we're married. It's a funny deal, she said thoughtfully. It'd interest you. I've been out a couple of times with this Snyder, you know, and if anything was needed to drive me into your arms, Colin, it's his political lectures. Well, bless the Republican Party. He laid his hand over hers, but she didn't withdraw it. But she frowned just a little bit. Colin, you know, I want to get somewhere before I marry. See a bit of the world, the theatrical world, before turning housefrau. Don't be so. Never mind. I like you anyway. Sipping her drink and setting it down again. Well, to carry on with the story, I finally gave Comrade Snyder the complete brush off, and I must say he took it very nicely. But today, this morning, he called, asking me to have lunch with him. And I did after he explained. It seems he's got a psychiatrist friend doing research, measuring brainstorms or something, and do I mean storms? Waves, I guess. Anyway, he wants to measure as many different kinds of people as possible, and Snyder had suggested me. I was supposed to come in for 3 afternoons running, about 2 hours each time, and I'd get $100 per session. Said Fraser. I didn't know psych research was that well heeled. Who is this mad scientist? His name is Kennedy. Oh, by the way, I'm not supposed to tell anybody. They want to spring it on the world as a surprise or something. But you're different, Colin. I'm excited. I want to talk to somebody about it. Sure, he said. You had a session already? Yes, my first was today. It's a funny place to do research. Kennedy's got a big suite on Fifth Avenue, right up in the classy district. Beautiful office. The name of his outfit is Sentiment Incorporated. Well, why should a research team take such a name? Well, go on. Oh, well, there isn't much else to tell. Kennedy was very nice. He took me into a laboratory full of all sorts of dials and meters and blinking lights and, what do you call them? Those things that make wiggly pictures. Oscilloscopes. You'll never make a scientist, my dear. She grinned. But I know one scientist who'd like to. Never mind. Anyway, he sat me down in a chair and put bands around my wrists and ankles, just like the Hot Squad, and a big thing like a beauty parlor hairdryer over my head. Then he fiddled with his dials for a while, making notes. And then he started saying words at me and showing me pictures. Some of them were very pretty, some ugly, some funny, some downright horrible. Anyway, well, that's all there was to it. After a couple of hours, he gave me a check for $100 and told me to come back tomorrow. Fraser rubbed his chin. Apparently he was measuring the electric rhythms corresponding to pleasure and dislike. I'd no idea anybody'd made an encephalograph that accurate. Well, said Judy, I've told you why we're celebrating. Now come on, the regular orchestra's tuning up. Let's dance. They had a rather wonderful evening. Afterward, Fraser lay awake for a long time, not wanting to lose a state of happiness in sleep. He considered sleep a hideous waste of time. If he lived to be 90, he'd have spent almost 30 years unconscious. Judy was engaged for the next couple of evenings, and Fraser himself was invited to dinner at Swarovski's the night after that. So it wasn't till the end of the week that he called her again. Hello, sweetheart, he said exuberantly. How's things? I refer to Charles Adams' things, of course. Oh, Colin, Her voice was very small and it trembled. Look, I've got 2 tickets to HMS Pinafore, so put on your own pinafore and meet me. Colin, I'm sorry, Colin. I can't. Huh? He noticed how odd she sounded, and a leadenness grew within him. You aren't sick, are you? Colin, I'm going to be married. What? Yes, I'm in love now. Really in love. I'll be getting married in a couple of months. But, I didn't want to hurt you. He heard her begin to cry. But who? How? It's Matthew, she gulped. Matthew Snyder. He sat quiet for a long while until she asked if he was still on the line. Yeah, he said tonelessly. Yeah, I'm still here, after a fashion. Shaking himself. Look, I've got to see you. I want to talk to you. I can't. You sure as hell can, he said harshly. They met at a quiet little bar, which had often been their rendezvous. She watched him with frightened eyes while he ordered martinis. All right, he said at last. What's the story? He could barely hear her. There isn't any story. I suddenly realized I loved Matt. That's all. Snyder? He made it a curse. Remember what you told me about him before? I felt different then, she whispered. He's a wonderful man when you get to know him. And rich. He suppressed the words and the thought. What's so wonderful specifically? He asked. Briefly, her face was rapt. Fraser had seen her looking at him that way now and then. Go on, he said grimly. Enumerate Mr. Snyder's good qualities. Make a list. He's courteous, cultured, intelligent, young, handsome, amusing. To hell. Why, Judy? I don't know, she said in a high, almost fearful tone. I just love him, that's all. She reached over the table and stroked his cheek. I like you a lot, Colin. Find yourself a nice girl and be happy. His mouth drew into a narrow line. There's something funny here, he said. Is it blackmail? No. She stood up, spilling her drink, and the flare of temper showed him how overwrought she was. He just happens to be the man I love. That's enough out of you. Goodbye, Mr. Fraser. He sat watching her go. Presently he took up his drink, gulped it barbarously, and called for another. Please join me next time for part 2 of Sentiment Inc. by Poul Anderson, here on Astounding Stories of Space and Time. Until then, watch the skies.